Happy Tuesday, y'all. Welcome to another Lean Coaching for Lean Coaches. I am, as always, so excited to be here. I almost said jazzed, but I think that's more like a cheesy dad thing. But I'm so excited to be here with you all. And this is just so much fun. Like I always say, every Tuesday, I just get so excited as the time is counting down because there's something about not knowing what's going to happen and creating something out of nothing that we all do as lean continuous improvement practitioners and professionals. We create and help others create ideas out of what's nothing. And there's something that can be scary, but also at the same time, when we reframe it, it's exciting. So, speaking of exciting, I am so excited to bring on a guest, and I think we're going to have to like expand the screen here because he brings so much energy and joy and light. And I've only gotten to meet this guy a couple times, but you're just really going to have a blast and with him, and that is Mr. Alex Jackson. Alex, it is fantastic to have you on today, my friend.
Sam, very nice to see you.
Hey, y'all. Well, hey, if you all aren't connected to Alex, you're going to want to shortly after we finish here because he is just a ball of joy and energy and ideas that you're going to be in touch. So please do connect with Alex. But Alex, for those that aren't familiar with you, what are you up to? What's your jam?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Sam. So, I'm a change and innovation consultant. Our focus is on applying lean principles to go-to-market teams in regulated industries. So, not the traditional lean application in the sense of manufacturing, but applying lean principles to the world of service-based industries, specifically marketing, sales, and customer success or customer enablement teams. um, and it's a fun blend, right? Because we see business units that traditionally have had a lot of freedom, they've had a lot of leeway, and not in a bad way, not in a bad sense. There's just been not that traditional mindset of thinking about things in a PDCA type mindset or looking for those opportunities to improve or measure that improvement. It's very much been in a sense of, okay, hey, we've got to hit these targets and we're going to do that at any cost. With a
Yep.
shift at a macroeconomic level over the last couple of years, we're now seeing a different mindset coming into these business units where it's, okay, we want to achieve growth, we want to achieve our targets, but
Yep.
let's do that in a measurable way. Let's do that in an efficient way. Let's make
Yep.
sure that when we're turning around and talking about customer acquisition costs, these aren't, 4 to 6 or 8, 10-year payback periods. We're
Yep.
staying within things that are measurable. So anyways, without diving too far into the weeds, Sam, that's us in a nutshell.
Not that you're passionate about this at all.
No, not at all. No, I don't wake up jazzed in the morning, get ready to go to work.
That's well, that's good. That's good. I know I talk to a lot of folks, and I know we have some hard times right now for a lot of folks, and not disparaging anybody's experience, but it's refreshing to talk to people who have that passion and joy. And I know it doesn't honestly, and maybe this is your experience too, but it doesn't just like it's not like it happened overnight where that comes. Can take time to be able to find and discover those things that are passions and joy. So it's refreshing to be able to have a conversation with someone like yourself. But as we talked about this show and or this conversation, it's all about things that you're dealing with and processing right now. And as you are in the midst, you're always in the center of helping others, think about change and innovation and making things more efficient and their space. But too often we don't, as change folk, get that opportunity to be able to process things that are keeping us stuck because you do a great job of helping those teams do that. So I'm wondering for you, what's on your mind lately that's taken up space for you, challenge that's on your mind?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Sam. I think the biggest challenge for me is as a business owner and as a practitioner, it's finding that balance in terms of, okay, so I've spent, I'm dedicating X amount of time to client work. There's, these amount of days. Where am I focused on growing my own business, or how am I focused on growing my own business, and what does that start to look like specifically in the form of marketing? We know
Mm.
brand development is key, and it's one of those interesting topics because folks will say, "Oh, brand is critical. You have to have a brand." Then you talk to somebody else, and they say, "But brand, like you can't measure that. We need to be doing ads. We need to be doing this. We need," and it's like, okay, where's that happy balance? And I think when I look at my goals and I say, where do I want to be a year, 3 years, 5 years from now? It's self-sustaining as
Mm.
entrepreneur, right? I want to grow
Yep.
to a team of somewhere between 3 and 10 people, and looking to
Mm.
kind of reinvent what does the modern future of work look like as we go through
Mm.
that process. And so, video and marketing specifically is going to be a key piece of that. And it's not just
Mm.
attracting new clients; it's showcasing to potential future employees. This is our culture. This is who
Yeah.
we are, and we're not going to sit here and show up with a suit and tie and sell you on this facade. We're a small business.
Yep.
These are the things that we're going through as a small business owner. Even this morning I saw a LinkedIn post and it's like, here's somebody who in a CEO role is talking about his vulnerabilities, his mistakes.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking to myself, dang, I don't know if I'd ever post that. Like
Yep.
as soon as I finished reading it, it was like, whew,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
right. But now
Yeah.
at the same time, we're having this conversation and I'm thinking about it and it's like, but at the same time, this is where people connect. And to your point very
Yes.
early on, continuous improvement as we think about it is not just the processes and the systems, it's how do we improve people? How
Yeah.
do you get people really engaged in the work that you're doing and even yourself? So
Ye
I'll pause there, Sam. It's a big piece to unpack, but that's what I'm thinking about these days. That's what I'm. How do I get going on that piece? And I think it's a balancing act, right?
Yeah, and it's no small no small area, right? Whether you're like a small business, medium-sized business, whatever it might be, the solopreneur
Mm,
entrepreneur, right? That this piece, branding, marketing, is a huge part of it, right? And I think we all um, it takes up space, right? How are we showing up? What are we communicating about who we are? How we help people? Who are the people that we help? Right? And then to your point about the people that we want to come, work with us and work together with us to help others, right? How do
mhm,
we communicate who we are and the kind of people that we want to bring in? And seeing folks jumping in here from Tanzania, even so, we know these kind of conversations resonate, around the world in business and in lean. What is like if you're thinking maybe I don't know a year down the road with your marketing piece, this thing, what would you like to be seeing going on if you could like create a video of yourself with your company? What would be awesome to be
mhm.
happening with this space for you?
If I was to place my bets, I would offer that the world of paid advertising in the future for small businesses, solopreneurs, becomes increasingly difficult, increasingly competitive,
Yeah.
um, and
Yeah.
increasingly
Yeah.
expensive. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We look at the influx of AI generated content and how that's starting to impact macro trends, as well as on a privacy and an analytics side. First party cookies, or excuse me, third party cookies are dying, so you
Mm.
don't have that same level of visibility to be able to track and market to people over a long or prolonged period of time. So for us, the strategy is how do we create organic content and opportunities like this through collaboration or through our own self-created video, where we're now sparking conversations, we're sparking ideas, and we're providing value upfront. And it's thinking about the big buzzwords. It's how do we start to give before we ask or we receive? And
Yeah.
and I think a big part of that for us and our strategy is going to be starting to think about we're solution partners for Asana and Jasper. And so, how do we start to build out training materials or examples for solopreneurs? For example, we've got an entire change management process that we leverage inside of Asana. It leverages lean change management principles, and it's got your board, you've got all the different pieces that you can track and start to easily use. Our thought process is let's build that out and show people how to do it. A big part of this is give people the opportunity to self serve and get the
Mm.
information they need. And if they want or if they're ready to, they can engage with us. And I think one of the pieces that I was chatting with my business partner, who also happens to be my dad. It's awesome. We
Yeah.
we were talking about how, when, and where is the right amount of clients, because ultimately at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, our TAM is this, or SAM is this, and SOM is this. What are we going to be able to actually serve? And for us,
Yeah.
the ideal number of clients is somewhere between 5 and 7. And then
Mm-hmm.
from there, we'll start to think about growth and what does that look like, and so on and so
Sure.
forth. But thinking about how this ties back into the strategy and where do we want to be a year from now,
Yeah.
it was slow, steady, consistent growth through organic channels, and making sure that when we're showing up, it's relevant, it's meaningful, and it's adding value to people's lives. There is so much content out there anymore that has a spin on it, or it's a hey, but if you sign up for this email list or you download,
Yeah.
if you want, contact us. We'd love to work with you. But let's make sure it's a good fit for you. And I think at the end of the day, repositioning that, um,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's our approach at least. And you know what? I don't know. That may shift, Sam. I may come chat with you in a year and say, Sam, I dropped it all. I gave up after 6 months. I'm running paid ads and I'm burning money like crazy. I hope not. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you like in that world where and I think this is I was just listening to a podcast the other day about on sales and talking about sales as service, right? And then how I think that is definitely switching in hopefully in the small to medium sized business area, especially. I think we recognize
Hmm.
it's a crowded market, right? So when you're thinking about for you this relevant content with value, right? What sorts of things, like if you were taking a GoPro on your head and you were walking around your company and you're marketing stuff, like
Hmm.
what kinds of things, like in your ideal world, would be awesome that you would be seeing, right? So we kind of named, I don't know, the general feeling or picture, but what sort of
Hmm.
specific things would you be seeing that would tell you, hey man, this is awesome. We are absolutely kicking ass and taking names and doing
I love it. It's a great question. I'd offer the first pillar in that, kind of holding up that second floor of the content strategy, is going to be explaining what is lean. I think as someone who's been exposed to lean for a number of years, having previously led a continuous improvement and innovation team of about 40 people, I deep understanding of of this material, the principles, how do we apply this to service-based businesses. But when you talk to someone outside of our sphere of lean practitioners, or someone who works in this industry, this specific knowledge base, people kind of look at you and they go, "Oh, that's interesting. This is a whole new set of acronyms for me." And it's like, "Oh, okay, perfect. We got to educate you." Um, and making that relevant specifically to the industries that we serve. So, instead of it being this abstract principle that, let's take success for example. When you start to talk about that, how does that get applied to your industry? What are the
that.
pieces
Right.
that are relevant to you? How does that look? How does that feel? And then taking that a step further, what does the change start to look like for you and your people? So if we're here now and we want to be
Yep.
here, what's the steps that you're going to have to take? And I
Yep.
think that, a lot of folks that I've talked to, my initial concern was, well, man, you're suggesting I give away my playbook. And they look at me and they go, yeah, because the second somebody realizes how much work it is to go from here to here, they're going to turn around and say, oh, it's time for us to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Because there is a need internally to be able to balance, okay, hey, I've got all of the work that I'm being assigned in my day-to-day job
Yep.
versus I have these large organizational objectives that I have to hit. And that's tied to my performance, that's tied to my compensation, that's tied to me having a job.
Yep.
So, if you start to apply to those intrinsic human factors that really drive decision making, it's like, okay, hey, this person is willing to help self educate me ahead of time. We can cut down on all the sales fluff. We can cut down on all the, hey, let me learn about your needs. And let's come back with a proposal. And then we'll do, 4 or 5 sales meetings or touch points. No, 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 no. Let's turn around and help self educate these people so that when they
Mm,
reach out, they say, hey, I've seen this piece of content. I've looked at your website. I have a rough understanding of pricing. I'm ready to have a conversation with you. This is my budget.
yeah.
I'm ready to get going on this date. What's your availability? Does this fit? So it's about shifting that mindset, and it's been tough for me. When we did our website up and we back and forth, do we display pricing? Do we not? And we
Yep.
settled on it, right? Because for us, a big piece of this was I don't want to have to waste somebody's time, whether it be
Yep.
15, 30, or 60 minutes of their time to have a conversation and say, hey, this all sounds very exciting. Our starting point is this in terms of price. And they go,
Yep.
and that's the end of the conversation. And it's just not a good fit. So how do we help
Yeah.
that person ahead of time? And to tie all this back, Sam, it's it's a challenge, right? I think for me personally, it's been a big shift in terms of mindset, in terms of
Mm.
level of comfort, and just
Mm.
accepting that, hey, these are things that are valuable to me, and how do I help share that knowledge with others so that they can see the value of what I bring to the table, or what we bring to the table as a team.
What do you feel like is the behind that discomfort in with this?
Competition. I think as consultants, we all understand and can appreciate the challenges that come with new business development, and
Yep.
it's understanding. Even just recently, I've initiated conversations with a potential client that this is someone I knew 5 years ago, and we've talked back and forth. We talked back and forth. We've kept in touch,
Oh yeah.
and now 5 years later, there's an opportunity to do some work together, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
dang. And I
Yeah.
think for me was the shift, especially when leaving a corporate role where it was like, okay, hey, I know consistently I'm getting a paycheck every 2 weeks. I know
Yep.
I've got this level of comfort. And I know there's these different safety factors that are in place to now being an entrepreneur. It's much more, okay, I've got to
Yeah.
provide for myself. I've got to provide for my family. I've got to keep a roof over my head. So it becomes, if you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, mentally we're coming back down the pyramid. It's like, okay, so how do we
Yeah.
provide for ourselves? And that I feel was really what drove that level of discomfort initially, was it was like,
Mm.
oh my gosh, if I give all this out and people see my information, they're gonna steal it. And then,
Yeah.
my dad sat me down one day and bless him, he goes, none of this is new. Nothing that you're thinking about doing is unique to you. It's something that somebody else has already tried or they've done. What's
Yep.
going to be unique is your energy, your vibe, and your ability to work with people. So yeah, no, it's great, and I do appreciate that call out, Lee. It's definitely something that longer sales cycles, especially bigger clients, it's tough, right? Like it's tough.
Yeah, this I appreciate your dad, and it's fun hearing that someone from the next generation is telling you to check your vibe. Don't hear that very much from. I wouldn't. I'm trying to picture my dad saying it's your vibe, but that's not a picture that's congruent with how I do that. So that's great though that he was able to give you that reminder about that for you. I'm wondering, do you still feel that sense, like, are some pieces of that discomfort, and if so, what is that?
Yes, and I think that'll probably always persist. Having built a previous startup that actually ended up crashing and burning, I
Mm.
recognize the fragility of how quickly you can go from your cash positive to all of a sudden you're, "Oh, crap. No, we're trying and then all of a sudden, boom, and it's that quick, and, the lessons learned, and I think that those are lessons I'll always carry with me, and it was something that when I started out on this path, it was like, "Okay, where am I at with this? How am I feeling?" And being mindful of those previous lessons learned, uh, and I
Yeah.
think, Sam, for me, coming back to your question there, I don't know that I would ever actually wanna lose that sense of fear because that is a
Mm.
very cognizant reminder of like, "Hey, be mindful of these things," as Lee's called out, right? Revenue producing activities are exactly where you need to be focused. And I would even say, what is your highest paid APRPA? I forget the name of the gentleman, but the ex CEO of Salesforce, he talks about it explicitly. And you need to be focused on your highest revenue producing activities all the time. And as
Mm.
a CEO, that's in my case, that's generating, or a business owner, that's generating new revenue and making sure we don't run out of money. So,
Yeah,
yeah, no, again, Lee, it's a great call, man. I keep looking at your comments. I love it.
that's awesome. That's great. That's great. So where are you at? Like, so your challenge you mentioned early on is the marketing piece. Where are you at right now? And then maybe what's your biggest obstacle or challenge that's keeping you from getting to where you want to be?
I think it's been I hate to say it, but it's been a lack of focus.
Mm,
I spent a lot of time over the last year focused on client-facing activities,
mm,
making sure that, delivering value to clients. With that, there was a gap or a delay in terms of, okay, hey, I need to get going on these things for my own business. And
mm-hmm.
so in that case, it was a matter of refocusing going into 2024, understanding that the goal was to move away from it just being a solopreneur activity where it was just me consulting one-on-one with people to, okay, now I want to start to grow this. So if, this is my North Star and this is where I want to go, how am I going to
Yeah,
get there? And it
yeah,
was, that was the motivating factor for me. It was like, okay, well, I don't want to work 60, 80 hours. I've done that
okay,
previously, right? Like it's not a fun position to be in, and
yeah,
it's not sustainable. And I think that
yeah,
as I've got kids, I've got a kid, a son, and as he grows older, I know where my focus wants to be. So
yeah,
it was how do I reshift that? And I think for me, when I put that all into perspective, it was like, okay, now I need to start building on the I need to start building on the marketing activities. I need to start building that awareness. And, the referral side of the business is always good. Outbound sales to a certain extent is good. Networking has been very positive in terms of generating initial leads and interest from different companies or folks. Though I think again, there's a certain point when you need to start to build that digital presence. You need to start to build that online social presence. And I think for me, also coming from a perspective of I don't want to get caught up in spending too much time on this side of the business.
yeah,
Where's that balance, right? Because there
yeah,
is still all the other aspects that I have to focus on. So it's a lot to unpack, Sam. I realize that, but I think that as solopreneurs or small business owners, we have so many different hats we have to wear from a day to day
yeah,
basis, right? It's what's the
yeah.
situation? What are we tackling today?
Yeah, and I'm wondering too what the focus. I mean, speaking of focus, right? Because we do have these. I heard one podcast one time of like your administration, your marketing, your sales, and then you
Mm,
actually have to execute the actual deliverable of whatever you offer. So there's so many different hats, like you said, that we have to wear and things we have to juggle. With the focus and the challenge with focus, what do you feel like the downstream impact is of that?
I've seen it. I would even offer over the last 6 months. So, 6 months ago when we sat down and we said, okay, over the next 6 months, because we don't look at planning in a traditional sense of, okay, here's 2024, here's our roadmap in a linear sense.
Yeah.
Think of it more in a development type sense. Here's a backlog or a list of items that need to get done based on what circumstances are. Let's pull across the pieces of work based on a week's, month, whatever the size may be that we're focused on. So for us, that was actually one of the first changes we made 6 months ago. Was instead of trying to do a traditional, 1 year roadmap that you might accomplish with a larger organization or set forth with a larger organization,
Yeah.
how do we be more nimble? Um,
Yeah.
and with that, then taking and quite literally on our Miro board and consequently on our Asana board, using the color coding of a pink sticky to indicate here's the top priority. Here's the one thing for this block of time that is
Yep.
absolutely critical to get done. And when that's done, then I can look at all the red things, which are high priority. And then, if I finish all that, then get onto the medium stuff and then onto the green, which is all low.
Right.
So building those internal systems and processes just to keep myself focused because Sam, I am a squirrel. I see something shiny, I get excited by it. I'm like, bing, and all of a sudden,
Yeah.
2 hours later, I'm like, oh crap, I've learned something exceptionally exciting, but
Yes.
I haven't gotten anything done yet. And
Yeah.
so building those internal processes because when I found it easy, right? When I worked for big corporate, it was easy to say, okay, this time I start, then I've got these meetings, I'm going through this process. When
Yeah.
I made that shift into now I'm working on my own, it
Yep.
was, okay, hey, I've got to redevelop that system. And so I would say that over the last 6 months, that's been really where I've seen the focus pay off, is developing the systems and the internal processes that day
Yep.
to day, I know what I'm up to. Month to month, I know what I'm up to. Quarter to quarter, I know what I'm up to. And that helps keep all of my actions guided. But at the same time, giving myself the flexibility that if a fire pops up over here over the left field,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I can respond to that. I'm not handcuffed to this big expansive plan like I previously might have been.
So, when we started, and I want to make sure that you're leaving with something to be able to kind of take with you. You talked about balance, you talked about focus, systems. What is one thing you can do from here with having this, knowing that you've got that squirrel, that sometimes things can get out of balance and the focus can kind of get spread?
Yep.
What's one thing that you can do today that will help you kind of bring that back into focus, or give you some sense, nothing big, but something you could do to
Mhm.
take you 15, 20 minutes today to help you with that?
What I've actually done is I've started working with a buddy of mine, close personal friend, known him for since we were kids, I think grade 5. And I sat him down and I said, here's what we're up to for the next 6 months. Feel free at any time to give me a call and just check in and ask how are things going and am I focused on these activities. And if I'm off track, I owe you. And he goes, "Oh, I like this. What do you owe me?" I said, "Lunch, your choice." And he goes, "Cool. This is good. Okay, sounds good." So I've had one phone call so far, and we just talked through. Here's what I'm up to. Here's what I've been doing. And it's very interesting when you have someone who's outside of the business, but
Yep.
who has the ability to hold you accountable, because now you have to say, okay, hey, in layman's terms, I can't sell you on all the fluff. Here's what I've been up to. Here are the measurable steps or the measurable things that I've done since the
Yep.
last time we spoke. And in this case, it was getting a website live, or getting our website live, version 2.0 of it. Because we previously had, a one pager. It was great, and it served its purpose when I was starting, but needed
Yep.
something a little more expansive. And I just procrastinated. It was coming from a marketing agency background. It was easy, like easy. Oh, I'll just build my own
Yeah.
website.
Yeah.
Because I had done
Yep.
this how many hundreds of times for other people, and now all of a sudden, I'm sitting there and I'd stare at a blank screen and I'd be like,
Oh gosh. Yeah.
"All right, well," and you know what? It was, you just you go through those blocks and those kind of,
Yep.
well, what do I do and how do I actually define this? So, by introducing someone who is outside the business, who had the ability to hold me accountable, and to be able to say, "Hey, how are things going? Explain it to me and show me demonstrable proof."
Yep.
This is someone who, we know each other quite well. So, the feedback that I'd be getting would be quite honest and quite blunt, or will be quite honest and quite blunt when it needs to be. And having that level of accountability, that I know, hey, I'm not only holding myself accountable to this person,
Yeah.
or to myself, excuse me, but to this person as well. And I'd
So,
offer, please, yeah, go ahead.
no, as we're wrapping up,
Yeah, yeah.
is there something with that you feel like you would be helpful to you, to, like, in this moment, to help you in some way with what you're stuck with? Is there a way you could use something, leverage something with there, or elsewise, that you could take from here and would be helpful for
Yeah, no, this whole conversation has been very helpful, Sam, just in terms of thinking about and actually probably documenting what are those concerns or what are those blocks that are, as we've talked about, that are causing me to have or to take inaction, or what are those blocks that are resulting in inaction?
you?
Like, what's the fear that's causing me to say, okay, how come I'm not getting this done? And actually taking the time to write that down. As we talked about this today, it was really good to be able to say, okay, how do I tie this all together? What is the root cause here of why I'm not taking that action?
Mm.
So
And what do you expect from doing that will happen when you do that?
I think the process of just acknowledging it, just like we've done in this call,
Mm.
now enables me to go, okay, so what is that fear? Is that actually a legit fear? And if it is,
Mm.
how do I address it? Yeah, no, 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 I'm starting to think about this in terms of, yeah, yeah, I really like this. This has been, it's Right, because now all of a sudden you're holding yourself even to the point that you can look at it and you can say, what is that fear? Let's unpack that.
Well, there's lots to go from here for sure. And I know people are going to want to follow and engage with you in your journey as you're continuing to share and move along this journey. And of course, if Alex and what he shared would be helpful for you, please be in touch with him. I'm sure he'd love to have a conversation around that. And on Thursday, this will be a helpful conversation, I think, for folks as well. I'm going to talk about, because we talked a little about sales, the unclose and how giving folks some questions not to ask and a framework to use in your sales call. So I think that'll be good, and look forward to folks who come and bring their questions on Thursday. And of course, if you need support and help in this is what I do. This is what I love to do, have these kind of conversations. So please shoot me a DM and we can have that conversation and see if it could be a good fit to work together. So again, Alex, thank you so much for being
Likewise.
here, for being open and sharing with all of us on your journey. I know that I don't take it lightly when folks come on and they open themselves up to sharing the challenges that are going on. So thank you so much for that here again, Alex. Appreciate it.
Sam, thank you so much for your time.
All right, buddy. Take care. Have a great day. We'll see you on Thursday. Be well.